Welcome to the podcast where we speak truth, illuminate power, and fully embody who the fuck we are. This is the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. We are all about spiritual evolution, spiritual growth, talking about the things that may be controversial, even some triggering concepts, but we are all about expansion. Come on in and join us as we reclaim and recenter ourselves in the power of who we really are. We are the Light Warriors, and welcome to the revolution.
And here we are back, guys. Oh my gosh, episode 105, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. And I am always stoked to be here. I see this as my auditory journal. I can come in here, speak on a concept and move it through and talk with you guys about alignment and receivership and all the things that we move into today. And I deep dive into a concept of receivership, into an energy of this evolution within our space. And if you actually listen to this whole thing and take this information I'm giving you, this energetic imprint, and you start to run with it, I guarantee you, okay, there's a guarantee on this, your life will shift exactly the way you desire it to. And I've been watching this play out in my world, and even just over this weekend, it's been a potent expander for me, and I cannot wait to see what this actually means. So, with no further ado, episode 105, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. Hello. Welcome back, guys. I want to preface a couple of things, and I'll probably end up doing this in the intro anyways, because just so you guys know, I do the intros after I actually record the podcast. But I'm moving the podcast launch date to Mondays. That feels so much more aligned with where I'm at in life right now. And this is actually a super amazing opening to talking about receivership today, which is what the podcast energy is going to be about today, about the art of receivership and how it shows up in all these aspects of our life, in business and life and relationships and everything. And when I was diving into the relaunch of season 3, something felt off about the mechanism of it all. The first thing was doing 2 podcasts a week was way too intense. The next thing was trying to coordinate guests and get guests into the space of things, felt a little bit intense. I am going to weave some back in because I love having guests on the podcast. I love speaking into higher vibrational energies with people. I love bringing in expertise to bring in a different platform for you guys. I just love that type of energy inside the field. So they are going to be reweaved back in. I'm going to be bringing in some, conversations that are I just can't wait. Anyway, so that's coming through, but there was still something transpiring. It's like I forget to do the podcast, and I don't forget to do things that are aligned. Now, I've been in a lot of transition over the last few months, and I take a look at that in honoring of what that actually means and what that is for me. But I'm like, no, there was something else off. And it hit me this weekend where I've been in knee deep in energies today. There has been the most expanded, beautiful energetics today for me. The day we are today is Sunday, August 11th, and you may be listening to this podcast later on. Oh, there's some truth for you coming through. It doesn't matter when you listen to this, but there was something potently aligned for me today in this portal of 1, right? The 8th month, 11th day technically equals 19, added together is 1, and it's the 11th day. And there was just something about creation today. And I moved within my normal human world, doing the dishes, the laundry. So all the laundry is done, completely put away. Everything's done. I just have to make my bed. Okay. So that's complete. There's no laundry outstanding. I almost have all the dishes done, and I will before I go to bed and put away. And there's something about this completion that's moving through my energetic field today, and it feels aligned. And as I sat down to listen to some trainings, to create some infrastructures, to shift some things in narrative, a ton of information was coming through. And I started to really look at this, and I went, what is this? What is dropping in? And why is this portal open right now? And I just kept hearing the word receivership. You are receiving now in the energy field. And I went, holy fuck. And what dropped in was like on Friday, I was like, holy fuck, it's Friday. I didn't even record a podcast. And then I went on with my day. Like it didn't even faze me that the podcast had to come out on Friday. And I was like, there's something that needs to shift with that. And I just flicked it back to the universe and just didn't have any energy on it at all. And then it dropped in yesterday. The podcast now launches on Mondays, and you have the weekend to record whatever you feel aligned within. So today it's Sunday night. It's like 6:45 p.m., but this feels juicy. I've got some stuff to still create. I've got some strategies to put into play for the week. I'm desiring to create a landscape of some activations this week. And I'm like, okay, like I've got the map and I'm like, it's right here, right? And if you're watching the video on YouTube, I'm like, it's right here, like in this landscape, like, and I can, when I can feel it. So why I wanted to bring in this energy today on the podcast is most of us have been taught to give. If you think about your whole entire like infrastructure as a child, most of us have been taught to give. Share what you have. Give to your friends. Be a good person and give. Our parents taught us that. The school system taught us that. The selfish energy of having your own things. It was like, no, we have friends come over and we share our stuff with our friends. So we were always taught giving. Most of us were never taught to receive love, even to receive money, to receive affirmation or support, to receive help. Oh, that was a huge one for me in my independent, like real energy independence. And we were never taught to receive. And then as we grow up as adults and we get into relationships with other people, we fumble, whatever the fucking word you want to use, our way through receivership. We try to pretend like we know how to do this, right? We try to pretend, like me, every single time someone gave me a compliment in my life, I would justify it back to them. Oh no, like that's not true. Oh, well, that's just because. Oh, well, and I was like, I never took it in until like a few years ago where I started realizing I was counterintuitively pushing back against the universe in its receivership of my life. And if I'm doing that there, then I'm doing it in all ways in my world, meaning I'm pushing back against receiving money. I'm pushing back against receiving love. I'm pushing back against all the infrastructures of my life, because how you do anything is how you do everything. And this phrase has like haunted me for like years. When I started dating my ex-boyfriend, holy fuck, now it's like 15 years ago. Literally this past like June, 15 years. He used to be a huge T. Harv Eker fan. Now if you think about 15 years ago, like, what was the book that he wrote? It was a millionaire book, and I can't even, it'll come back to me. But that movement, Tony Robbins was still kind of hot. Like, Tony still has his stuff and he's still super popular within his own infrastructure of places, but literally it was like the events to go to. Joe Dispenza came into play about 10 years ago and started to weave within the infrastructure about 10 years ago. And Joe Dispenza is still kind of hot in the space of events to go to, right? And it's like, but Tony Robbins was there, T. Harv Eker, Millionaire Mind. T. Harv Eker was like a big thing. And one of the key dynamics he said to me that like haunted me ever since, and that really plays out in our integrity as people, is how you do anything is how you do everything. And if we bring that back into receivership, receiving is a feminine energy. And most of us have blocked up our femininity. Now, you guys have heard me speak to this. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. But I used to be hustle, go, 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 independent. Let's move it through. Now, I'm still independent. I'm still a mover and a shaker in an energy field. I have a leadership energy naturally. I just lead. Okay. Like I don't think about leading. I just lead. And even sometimes when I'm like, I don't want to lead, I end up leading. Like that's just something that shows up in my awareness. And I've learned through the years to just submit to that, because that is part of the personality I chose on this earth experience to have as an asset. It has served me well in a lot of times. It also has gotten me into some trouble, we'll say, in all the most beautiful learning experiences that there is, right? And it's like that space of things. But the way I led life back in the day was in almost pure masculine energy. Just because I could put lipstick on, do my hair, and wear high heels does not mean I was leading in my feminine. I was in warrior masculine. And I am working right now with my body to learn how to open up in the femininity. So I yesterday was in a one-to-one yoga session with this beautiful soul who I love. We ended up flipping services. So she came in and did some energy work with me. And then I wanted this one-to-one experience with her, which I actually want to bring into my everyday life, meaning like not every day see her, but like once a week, I want to integrate this into my practice because it wasn't just about moving with yoga. She also does energy clearing work. She also does like opening work within the body, which is what I need. And she also kind of massages some of the aspects of the body as we move through. It's not Thai massage. It's not Thai yoga. It literally is her modality showing up in the purity of her light. So I went through this experience yesterday and I am now really in this opening. I also contacted a woman who specializes in feminine embodiment, and she uses Kambo, which is a plant medicine, to help open the womb area of a woman. And I feel like I'm ready in the phase of this next level of pulling her forward, of doing that work, of being with her. And part of that is in receiving love and adoration and receiving money. Most entrepreneurs right now are blocking money in their life because they do not know how to receive, how to open up the capacity to be able to pull it into their bodies. And this is something that I literally was working within today. I shot a voice note off to one of my clients who is exactly in this point of time. I'm going to teach it in my soul business experience literally next week. It's going to be one of the key dynamics I'm going to teach because this is about to break open for entrepreneurs. Now, if you're listening to this and you're an entrepreneur and you're a spiritual based entrepreneur, meaning like you believe in spirituality, which most likely you wouldn't be listening to this if you didn't, I'm opening up the next round. It's a 6-month portal way for spiritual entrepreneurs. And we go through all different kinds of stuff. Send me a DM if you're like, I heard the podcast, I'm interested in learning more. I'll shoot you off the details before it goes into launch. I'm going to open it up to like the wait list or the people that have messaged me first, and you guys will get the most discounted rate to get in. When I did this back in March, I had 7 people jump in to the case study that was linked to this. And they got the $5,000 package for $1,000 and they could do it in payments. And it completely revolutionized their business. I'm looking forward to getting the testimonials that are coming out of this because it has been a crazy intense time. But if I can drop in to help assist these entrepreneurs in receiving, they're going to be able to open up their palette of offering to make more impact, which then comes into more revenue. So if we actually look at this in your life, some of you are single and you're desiring a partner. You know, some of you are in the space of wanting to get promoted or change jobs or increase sales in certain ways in your careers. And it's like, have you considered receiving? So today, what I did, before I even dropped into this energy, which is actually really fun, because things drop into my field, I take action on, and then later on, I get the answers. That's just how it works. And my job, just like it is for you, but my job is and always is to trust my intuition and step up into the space in that intuition and to lead in intuition every single day, no matter what is going on, no matter how it hits, no matter what's showing up. Like my 2-hour session today, the download came in, you need to change it to this, and this is how it's going to move. And I'm like, okay, great. So that has to be implemented this week in an energy form. I will take action and always do now in my intuition because I have learned through way too many stories when I don't, what happens. So I sat down today, and for those of you guys that don't know, some of you may not know, I am single, okay? I am finally, and I say finally on purpose, in a space to open up my palette to call in my partner, okay? 100% purity. I'm not fucking around. I'm not trying to dabble. I don't want to go and date a bunch of people. I know who he is, like in the potency of what he creates in life, and I am opening up my ability to receive him. So what shifted for me today, and I've been working within this energy for a while, and last year when I met the elder of the Bri tribe here in Costa Rica, he said to me, you need to get more energy behind the guy. So he says he could see him behind me, but there has to be a deeper resonance of energy. There's more frequency that has to be moved there, not just the random visualizations, like the potency of the expansion. And for some of you guys, this is going to be relevant in other parts of your world. It could be in your health. It could be how you show up in your life. It could be you leading in your truth, wherever it is, right? So today, I wrote him a letter, okay, in my like spiritual like journal. So I've had this journal since 2020. I have automatic writing that I started. What is its first date here? September 4th, 2020. So I even wrote here the Journal of Great Awakenings. Okay, so I have automatic writing. I just have writings of things, and half of them I can't even fucking read, because it would be really great if when I automatic write that I actually could read my writing. But most of the time I can't. So in here I wrote a letter, and it was the story of us. And how I wrote it was in a way of the feeling of what he brings to my life and who he is as a man in my world and how I view him in the space of things. And I built it out, like how we wake up in the morning and how I feel held and safe in his arms, and how I watch in awe the impact he makes in the world and the mission that we're on together, and how he shows up in the space of things, and how he's so dedicated to his health and how he takes care of his body and all the things I desire in a man. And I even got to the point of like his sexual exploration with me and how he allows me to show up in all of the potency of what that is. And he holds the space for our exploration together. And I wrote him a letter about how I adored this about him and how I loved this about him and how this plays out in my life. And it's different than writing a list of the qualities I want in a guy. I just created a storyline that moves through the world and that exemplifies my receiving of him. How do I receive him in my life? How does it feel in his energy to receive his energy in my world? What does my heart have to say about this? How does it feel in my heart to be in this relationship with him? And when you actually think about this, think about it. And if you feel about this even better, the whole game changes when we take this into account and realize this thing. And I sat here today, literally, and I went, holy fucking shit. And if I go and look at some of the mentors I work with, a lot of almost all the mentors that I currently work with now are millionaires and create millions of dollars a year in their infrastructures. And I do that because that's where I desire to be. But I go look at that. One of the key dynamics that changed from where they were to where they are now is their ability to A, hold more capacity, and B, lead in receivership. Because you cannot attract the money that you desire by literally being in scarcity or continuing to just give into the world. There has to be a balance. So as you give, like in a podcast, as you give in a free masterclass, as you give, how can I also receive the bounty? Whether that's an energy exchange, whether that's in you sharing this podcast out into the world and I get to receive that energy from you in the space of things, whether that is you buy a program or an offering, it doesn't matter about that per se. It matters about how can I open up a portal to be able to receive? Because most of us, our portal way of receivership is not open. It's closed. So I desire today to leave this information, ding, this energetic ping into your field for you to really consider this. How do you look at your life differently through the lens of receivership? How can you open yourself up to receive more? Love from your animals, love from your kids, like in the purity of it, not because you have to, but because you get to. A lot of people right now are struggling with money. And most of that struggle is because they don't know how to receive. And they've been playing within this infrastructure of scarcity, which is keeping them in an energy of non-receivership. Because if you are scared or you are in fear or you are in lack, You don't believe in the bounty of the universe. And the more we surrender into the space to be able to call in receivership, the more we call in receivership. The game is simple, guys. It really is. But we complicate the fuck out of it. And if you can really tune into this and come back into the space of simplicity and start to lead your life with the key measurable dynamics that change your energetics, your whole life will shift. Everything. I've been saying this for so long, and I will continue to say it until the cows come home. It's probably like a Canadian saying, right? The work is our spiritual connection and connection to self and accelerating our intuition. That's the real work. Because when you lead there, the money, impact, connections, deep-rooted, adventures, the friendships, the lovers, everything gets connected into that and it expands. It's not the 9-to-5 work. It's not the grind over on this side. It's not the things that we've been told are the work, right? They call it work for a reason. They do. They want the elitists to create a distortion in your field. So when someone says to you breath work or spiritual work, you think you're doing it in your 9-to-5 job when you're not. That is actually not the work. That is what we call slavery. Unless you are soul connected to the work. So what does that mean? That means your soul expands when you go to work every day. And if that is yours and you, amazing. But I probably can guarantee for at least 80% of the people that go to jobs, their soul's being sucked out of them in some way, shape, or form. They're sacrificing their value systems. They're not in alignment. They do not want to go to work. Half the work that they do is like, it's not doing anything for them. And I'm not here to judge, because trust me, I've had jobs, but I kept hearing the calling about entrepreneurship. And some of you will always have your job, and that is amazing. But it's the other things that you're not aligning in, because your job's sucking your fucking soul. You don't have enough energy to do the other work, or you're reverting backwards again because your job's sucking your soul, and I'm going to say this with so much respect, you're too lazy to fucking step up into the other space. You're too scared to be alone, or you're too scared to do all this, whatever, right? So I want to imprint this energy for those of you that want to receive it. I said that on purpose. Receive. How can you start to lead your life in receivership of actually being okay to exchange money in the world? Actually seeing it as like a part of your divine coding to live in abundance, because it is. But most of us have been conditioned to not be selfish, right? To stay within the minimalistic. You don't need that much stuff. Why the materialistic world is part of Satan's plan, and all these fucking things. If you come from the purity of light in everything that you do, then it's from the purity of light. Money in the hands of good people does good things. Where is your ripple effect being called forward? And how can you show up in that space today, tomorrow, next week? So I'm going to leave you to ponder this. And like always, I ask, if you feel called to share this with a friend, send it on out, because there's so many people that are desiring this message today to hear it. And maybe you're the conduit for them today to help change their life. Let's go receive together. And I'll see you guys all in the next episode.
Well, we know that you like the podcast potentially because you're still here listening to this actual audio at this moment of time. So all that we're going to ask is, can you please just help us share it out? Tag some friends, share it with a friend, help us spread the word, because each of us moving through together as we collaborate, as we move within this light warrior movement, helps each of us illuminate in lights. And we're just so grateful. I'm so grateful. The guests are always so grateful too, that you help us spread the word, that you help us really step into this space to be able to own all of our pathway. And we are just so grateful to have you here. And thank you again for listening.